So recording has begun. All right, Nia.
Let me see. Hello, I'm Antonia Marinucci. I'll be acting as chair today. Do you want to
talk a little bit about your background and then?
Yeah, sure. Also, I'm going to give fair warning that both of my children are home with COVID exposure, so we're doing the best we can over here.
Oh, God bless you.
It's okay.
We're doing good. We're doing great. Yes, I'm an architect. I live here in Ohio City, and most of my work is focused on restoration and renovation in the residential realm. Who's next on our board?
Hi, I'm Alex Frondorf. I'm on the board of Ohio City Design Review. Been on the board for a number of years. I'm an attorney by trade with a particular interest in historic preservation within the Ohio City Historic District. And I live in Ohio City.
Hi, as I just stated, Margaret Land with the Cleveland Restoration Society, and I've been on the board for a couple of years.
And then I think we have Chris's turn.
I was going to say, is it my turn? Hey, everyone. Chris Lozier. I am an architect. Work for DLR Group, downtown Cleveland. An Ohio City resident for almost 14 years at this point, which is kind of crazy. My first design review board meeting, so I'm excited to get started. And I know some of my fellow design review board members already, so it's good to see you all and to be here in this capacity now. So.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. And again, I'm Donna Gergonis, near Ohio City and Tremont West, development director. I'm the bearer of bad news with a lot of projects all over the place, usually, but it's never usually personal. So anyway, I guess we could start our meeting with the first agenda item. And then we have Nate Lull on the call too. He is newer to our team as well.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nate Lull, and I'm an intern at OCI and CSU student studying regional planning. So happy to be here with everyone.
Nate's really into historic preservation. I see him on public forums all the time commenting. Sorry, Nate. I see you all the time on public stuff commenting. It's really great. So we should start with Ohio City Burrito today will not be attending. They are understaffed, so the owner was unable to make it today. He did ask to be on the agenda next month. I know there was a time constraint, so Carl, I'm not sure how we would handle that, but maybe we could take that conversation offline with that applicant since he's not here. And then the second agenda item is, I actually can't read it.
2817 Detroit Avenue.
Graham's project.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be silent now, so see you later.
Oh, come on, Donna. That's not fun when you're on mute. So this is really a modification of a design that got approved by this committee, I would say, a year and a half ago. It's at the corner of 28th and Detroit. We can progress and see the existing conditions. The tiger mural right there by Michela Picci, a artist who's Italian but lives in Berlin. And the space that we're talking about is that top right picture. So, if you pin the presentation, it's to the left of, what's Haven Nail Studio, Premier Barber, and CBD. So it's essentially, if we progress, what was approved, could we go to the last slide and then I'll go back to 3? Yeah. Yeah, so on your right is the approved and permitted set. What we're doing is extending that parapet wall up as noted in that light khaki, and then adding that staircase from the existing deck down. So yeah, what's approved is on the right, and it's good to see side by side. And then on the left is the modification that we're asking this committee to approve. So we can go back to 3. I think that's an easier slide to understand. So, part of this, the motivation was, we had really thought that the front space was going to be the first one activated. Doug Katz came to us and in a very exciting way, took the kind of back, I think 3/5 of the property. So, the entirety of the Tiger Mural. And Amba, which is an Indian fusion restaurant, is set to open in March. Doug was the chef of Fire. He's got Zug up on Cedar Hill. And so that's going to be exciting. So we've got, those 2 spaces are, there's probably 20 trades people there right now working away. The green denotes a rooftop yard that we're excited about. It would be accessible by me, Marika, who's a new fellow design committee member and is not on this call because she had a previous conflict, our daughter Ray, and that would be it. So you can see the green space. Go to the next slide. You can go to the next slide. So yeah, the extension of the parapet walls to create a barrier for that deck. You can see some scale with regards to the people. Again, existing deck. We would be the staircase would be white. The same white color that was approved through this committee and then through Landmarks a few years ago. It's a Sherwin-Williams Heritage Collection antique white. We can keep moving. So then here's looking from both 28th Street and 28th Street and Detroit. So again, just extending that parapet wall up to create the same material use of a barrier for safety. Keep moving. There's the detailing there. So, you've got that band of, kind of charcoal that had been approved, but then just taking that cornice feature and moving it up. We can keep moving. There's the material that would be on the roof. You wouldn't see it from sidewalk, but notion is we're putting a yard in. We've got an 11-month-old daughter as of tomorrow, and figured it'd be cool to have a yard. I think we can move. Next slide. This is the previously approved. So I would just open it up to comments and questions because I think you've seen everything. Slight modification to a previously approved and permitted set.
Hey, Donna, can we go to that last slide that shows the previously permitted or previously approved and the new? Perfect, thanks. I just have 2 general comments about this and then a suggestion. So on the one that's been previously approved, the one you see on the right, the cornice matches up, the cornice line matches up with the bottom of the windows of the adjacent building. And it kind of creates this plane, this datum line across. And with the addition of the parapet, the cornice is brought up and it changes that interaction between the buildings. And now they don't have to interact, but I think it looks better if they do. And I have 2 suggestions for that. One, keep the cornice where it is in the previously approved set and maybe even make it a little more robust, and then have the parapet wall go up above that and have a cap on it. Suggestion 1, or suggestion 2 is set the parapet wall back off of the previously approved cornice. So it's a separate item, a separate design element. But I think the first suggestion of just keeping the cornice where it is in the previously approved, make that robust, and then bring the parapet wall up and add a cap to it.
So if we,
it is.
Yeah, and
it's the same thing except just where you place the detailing.
Yeah, and I think Alex, I think we are addressing it. So the detail, if you zoom in on the front left, I think we'll actually carry that in a more elegant way in the current, in what we're proposing. So yeah, the black band that is in the historic building. So just to kind of step back, the building on the left, which is not grayed out, is a cinder block drive it, built in the 80s, building. The one on the right was built in 1865 and has historic elements. So that black band that is in between the arched windows and the storefronts on the building on the right, we're then carrying that over in our new proposed. So you've got that massing. You then have the cornice that's a very different language, as a separate element that is then above. So I don't know, Nathan or Donna, if you're driving it, but if you zoom into the left a little bit more, you'll have it, and you can like go, between the buildings. So that the plain, almost elevated curb, Alex, is then carried across, and then you've got the cornice as a separate language higher up. And the setback would be problematic from a structural standpoint because you couldn't carry that up.
I
It's a
figured you wanted
separate
on the
issue,
same
but
line there.
yeah. But I think I hear you, and I actually would say yes, and that it would, we're doing that. We're achieving the intent that you're articulating more so than with the existing approved set. Because if you go to the maybe it's slide 2 that shows like the photographs of the buildings. Yeah, if you zoom in to that top right picture, that black line that sits under the windows, Alex, you all of a sudden carries across. And frankly, it shows that they're two separate buildings as opposed to trying to.
Right, they don't have to have relation to one another. Yeah.
Yeah, but you'll have the relation, but then you'll have the distinction that, there's the same materials carrying up. So you'll have a little bit of topographical diversity.
All right, let me think about that, and I'll just throw out my second thing, and then I'll shut up. On the slide that shows the profile along 28th Street, you can leave it there, or you can keep going down. It's fine, keep going down. That right there, yeah. Go up a little bit.
Yeah, that's Detroit. So go up to the other elevation. Yeah.
My only concern with this one is how does it end? And I think that the parapet wall might look better on the top-down view. It just terminates there if it returns towards the building. So it doesn't. So the parapet wall just doesn't end. There's a building on Euclid Avenue where the parapet wall just goes up, and you can see the bracing behind it, and it just stops, and it looks off. And even if it doesn't return all the way to the building, just so that it returns a ways, so that the sight line from the street or sidewalk has it going back towards the building. Because I mean, right now it looks somewhat, and I know it's not, but it looks somewhat arbitrary as to where it terminates on the building.
Yes, even if you return it 2 or 4 feet, that would be fine.
That was my same concern.
Got it. So you basically have it, because if you look at the plan right now, so if we go to the plan view. Yeah.
If you go up one more, it'll actually show it in gray. There.
Got it. So you're saying have it go 4 feet to the west.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to give it mass.
Yeah, I don't have objection to that.
And, it doesn't have to go, if it went to the midway point of the roof there, I think that would be sufficient, because I don't think, my assumption is you wouldn't be able to see it return all the way to the wall from the public right of way. is my guess.
If I could interject.
And Graydon's our architect, just so that you guys know.
Yeah, no, I think that's a nice idea that would give it a little mass from the street level. One thing I worry about continuing it too far to the midpoint is having to rework the roof drainage. I think a 4-foot return would be quite easy to achieve to give that mass and end to the parapet. And luckily we're on a joist right at that point, so we can get the bearing for it. I worry about returning it fully or to a point that will cause reworking of the roof deck.
The question.
Sorry,
go ahead.
No. But I think a 4 to 5 to 6 foot return to give that end and mass from the street level, which is about what you could see from the street level or across the street, could be done quite easily.
And elegantly.
So the question I have is why? How is where it stops determined? Because looking at this roof plan and looking at the elevation, it doesn't seem to align with any of the building elements that we can see from the street or above. It appears like looking at this view, there's sort of two buildings, one on the right-hand side and one on the left-hand side. And where the parapet stops doesn't align with from my perception, doesn't align with anything either on the facade or how the buildings are currently sort of built.
It's structure.
Well, yeah, twofold. It's knitting the parapet with the two very different facades that are on West 28th Street, as well as taking it to the plan area where we need the protection, but extending it so that it does meet a strong enough joist to carry both that parapet and the CMU. Arbitrarily, we could bring it back if you feel that maybe if we look at an elevation, the next slide.
Like slide 6, after. Yeah, I guess would be. Slide 6 gives you a good sense of the interior structure.
I think we've got a very complex mural underneath, and we've got this door for Amba. And the worry was that if that parapet tried to meet the door of Amba, which is the natural location for the end of it to protect purely the deck, that having that extension and overrunning it a little bit would try to knit both of those compositions together a little better, because we've got such a hard line between the CMU and the frame wall, which we've turned the corner with at some expense.
Right. So another question, as I'm looking at the elevation, the upper elevation, is that it appears that, and I'm going to sketch on the screen, that the storefront restoration kind of comes to about here, and then this portion back is the mural, correct?
Correct, and it's a different backup too. Everything to the left that the mural is also a CMU wall, and everything to the right is a balloon frame.
Right, gotcha. So as I look at this, to me, I almost want to say that because the building, the facade sort of break in that location, that extending the language of the parapet all the way, the same language all the way across, seems a little bit odd to me. So one thought that I have is, do you stop the decorative cornice at this location and then have a simpler parapet that would continue further down?
I mean, yeah, returning, yeah, I think it's kind of nice how it does extend because it does knit those two very disparate elements together a little bit, especially when you see it with the mural versus a CAD drawing. It wouldn't be difficult to stop the cornice. We've stopped the band at the line of the existing coping. You could have a very simple parapet extend beyond that with a simple coping cap to it. And it'd probably step down about 6 inches. But it seems like in terms of uniting the composition and creating less disparate elements, that one move across the full of that corner would be a better aesthetic for the whole of that building in the corner.
Yeah.
Can we go back and see the mural? Okay, well, I guess my thought is that mural is such a dominant feature, and when you look at it compared to the storefront part of the building, I think the extension of that new parapet back to what seems to be an arbitrary point sort of frames the mural. There's really no good place, it seems to me, to end that extra parapet, but having it extend past, the storefront over, that looks to me like that's going to come somewhere in the middle of that tiger shape, maybe where the bus pole marker that's it right now.
To give you a little context, Doug, like the door that's in the drawings are right at the pause. So like,
okay.
So that just to help give you context is like where the nails of the tiger are is where that door's been cut out. So
Okay, well then, but I guess it seems different to me when I think of it in context with the mural than just the bare elevation that doesn't have that dynamic feature on it. The mural is going to be a powerful feature, and so so if the proposal now is for that parapet to go back past the door, somewhere into the tiger's head, maybe, that doesn't bother me. It sort of does help integrate the building with the mural wall, and so I don't care so much where it ends or if it's defined by a point on the building. It's a little bit irrelevant. But to end the parapet right where the mural starts creates a different kind of definition that I think maybe I don't like.
I don't like it either, and I'll say because I think it's a weird balance. Like you wouldn't have a building, stop that shallow.
Right.
So I agree with you. I like the word integration and knit because I think that's the design intent.
Yeah, I don't think my comment was to stop the parapet.
I see it in context.
Chris, I was taking your comment to return the cornice and then simplify it after the line where that stops.
Yeah, that was the intent of my comment there. I guess as we're looking at the mural now, and I'm going to sketch on my screen again. So this would be kind of the location of the parapet as it comes across. What happens to this portion here of the parapet? Do you paint the wall up to that point the same sort of teal color, or does it become another, or is it another color or another material?
The same material. We carry the material all the way back. So we don't, I think it would throw the balance of the mural off if we did the teal color. So it's part of that wovenness and integration of the two buildings is that the same material on the parapet wall on the non-mural side carries over. So it's almost like a brush stroke that doesn't cover the entire canvas.
If it was the teal, it would kind of make the parapet wall look like the mural, which it isn't.
Yeah, and I think it would off balance it because you have it where the tiger, especially from a pedestrian way, which this doesn't, like when you're looking at the tiger and the tiger is cropped where it is, it has this nice perspective where I don't think any more height, you'd almost diminish the tiger if it was a teal material.
Mhm. No, and it was just for clarification, just to understand. Yeah, I wasn't trying to impose one something, you know, versus
Totally.
another. I was just curious. Another question that I have is, what's the timeline of when the facade restoration for what's red right now happens versus when the parapet would be built? Is that all planned to happen at the same time, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That-
And I
that's-
don't know, I don't have the exact date. Part of this was, yeah, as I said, mentally, you know, we had projected that the front was going to be the first phase, if you will, of it.
Mhm.
And yet, because Doug Katz, not Doug Wall, was interested in the back 3/5, you know, we, you know, kind of flip-flopped our sequencing on this whole thing.
Mm-hmm. No, that's great. And then the Doug Katz space, is there going to be a new entrance into that space from either 28th or from behind, or how does that work?
Yeah, so there's two doors. There's one that's like right here where I just annotated.
Yep.
And then this door. So the two entrances for Doug's restaurant, and there's, and it's, I don't know if it's exactly here, but like this is one of the structural walls here.
Mhm.
So like this part is like a separate room than this part.
Right.
But they are
Mhm.
connected interior with a big door. And then on the side here, you know, you've got a little bit of space between this building and then, you know, the new creative hangar that's there.
Mhm.
And there's an access point to Doug's space, you know, on this. We're still debating if it's going to be a patio or an outdoor waiting area or something, but you can access also from that patio or alley, or we're still trying to figure out, because one of the cool parts about Doug's space is you feel transported when you walk in. And so I think his intent is, wait, you lose that when you walk out onto a patio. And it's such an experiential, you know, design that having that patio might not achieve it. I don't know if I'm articulating it well.
I'm sorry I missed the beginning of your presentation, but what is Doug Katz's concept of this?
It's called Amba, and it's where his Zug is kind of Middle Eastern cuisine. This is Indian.
Okay.
Yeah. Amba is like a mango based. So like Zug is an actual sauce, and Amba is a sauce too. Zug's like it's like the green, super spicy, and then Amba is like this mango, almost chutney, but not exactly chutney.
Go. Well, that's a cuisine we don't have in Ohio City, so I look forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it as well.
Quick interjection here. Graham, will you be coming back with signage for this too, or are you going to be doing any signage?
We will come back for signage so if we go to I'm assuming they'll be signed, either here or like here, but without a business, I don't know what we'll do.
Sure. Sorry. I know I'm
But we know that when we find somebody to occupy that space, we'll come back and present to this group.
But I believe Amba's planning to come back to you all with simple blade signs once they get that designed.
Not that Amba will need signs to be busy, but thinking in the future.
I had one, and I apologize for sort of talking so much, but I have one more sort of question on I think it's page 5, the section, the lower section. Yeah, the top note is owner option privacy trellis. That's 8 feet tall. Can you help us understand what that is? And if that actually is going to be installed?
It's not really designed, but there is some desire to have some planners, which are shown on the section, as well as the option to place a few, say, 3x8 open grid panels for vines to grow up. These are portable and would be moved around on the deck. We just showed one up against the parapet for the board to see what the impact would be.
Okay. Yeah. If they're movable and not fixed in place, I personally don't see that as an issue. I'm not super crazy about those panels sort of being placed in that particular location along the facade. Just because I think it creates maybe an odd composition as you're looking, from street view, potentially. Again, without knowing exactly what these are going to look like.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair.
And I think and I just want to make sure that this still reads as an urban, place, and being cognizant of the materiality and the aesthetic of these sort of urban buildings. I want to make sure that we're all sort of complementary toward that.
I think even if it's pulled back and not just right against the wall, that, a little bit of setback.
Granted.
Yeah, I've got a tough. Yeah, I agree with everything Chris and Margaret you've said.
No, but overall, I mean, this is really exciting and cool, and excited to see all of the facade improvement, especially, and the integration of all of this as it comes together. So, and to have a Doug Katz restaurant in the neighborhood is going to be exciting.
All right, if there are no further comments or questions, would someone care to make a motion?
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve as presented with consideration for the planter grid to be set back a little bit.
And the parapet wall returning.
And the parapet wall returning 4 feet or so.
Yeah, that's good. I don't think there were any other revisions suggested. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, Donna, please call the roll.
So we have Doug Wall, our chair. How do you
Yes.
vote?
Yes.
Antonia Marinucci,
Yes.
Chris Lozier,
Yep.
Alex Frondorf,
Yes.
and Margaret Land. I don't hear
Okay,
you,
yes,
Margaret.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the motion unanimously passes. Thank you. With the
Thank you.
Thank you
conditions,
very much.
with the
Yeah, thanks.
conditions mentioned.
Just for a process clarity, does this then get kicked to landmarks
Yes.
downtown or? Okay.
Yeah, Graham. So the next stop would be Landmarks Commission. And I'm not sure how they want to handle it, but I would assume they probably want to have a meeting at the Landmarks Commission with this. So I would make sure to send an email today just to remind them that you would like to be on the soonest agenda.
Will do.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Oh, and Doug, sorry to interrupt. Will you please introduce yourself? Because we have a new committee member today.
Yes, I noticed that. My name is Doug Wall, local architect. Glad to meet you. Is it Chris?
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
good to meet you. Good to meet you as well.
No, I'm sorry I went blank here, but my computer doesn't want the video camera to work. So I guess I'm gonna be a blank screen for a while.
Thanks, Doug.
Welcome to the committee, Chris.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
All right, so our next case is 1714 Randall Road.
I'm good to see you. Happy holidays. This is Paul Beegan with us, owner of the property, spouse of the plot. Chief, I don't know if your wife is with you, but we have this really not so remarkable house on a really cool pie-shaped lot on Randall Road where it comes to. So really cool site.
Paul, your audio is cutting out a little bit. Can you maybe try turning your camera off and then talking again? It's kind of hard to hear you.
Sure. Yeah, so the site is a really cool site, and I think important to the neighborhood. The house itself is a little unremarkable. The intent of this design is to do an addition to add a carport and another bedroom to this house, and update the exterior look of the house as it is right now.
Everybody's looking at my light.
If you want to move on to the next slide there, that's fine. The next couple slides are just some pictures of the existing house. Again, pretty unremarkable. It's vinyl sided in a not fantastic condition all the way around. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. Probably the only nice feature of the house is that we have a nice ornate post holding up a porch over by the front door, and that's really about it. You can go on to the next one. Yeah, again, just some more pictures of the existing house where it is in its condition right. So these are just some floor plans so you can see we're not on the ground floor enlarging the floor plate of the structure. Again, it is a pie-shaped lot, so we're kind of stuck with where we are on the first floor. On the second floor, we're doing is adding a bedroom addition that would cover over what would be a new carport. Take advantage of some of the other pie. One of the other ends of the pie, do an outdoor patio from the outside, and extending a new walkway to the front door from the sidewalk. You can go on to the next slide there. Elevation wise, you can kind of see what we're doing with this addition as far as creating that second floor space, and the covered carport as well too. Obviously you can see from the elevation drawings there, we do have an exterior balcony that would be facing Randall Road as well too. And then if you want, you can go on to the next slide. There you go. Scroll down there a little bit. And Steve and his wife have a house also across the street. I'm sure everybody knows the purple Victorian house. Beautiful, and they did want to look at making this house as part of the restoration of it, give it a little bit deeper color that would match more with some of the character of the other homes in the immediate neighborhood.
They're replacing all the siding and trim?
Yep, all the siding and trim's coming off. It's all going to be hardy siding and trim. New windows as well too.
Is this property an investment property, or will they sell it, rent it, live in it, Airbnb it?
Can I respond to that?
Yes, you can, Steve.
I'm the owner. I live across the street with my wife in 1840 West 44th. And we actually have some other homes in the neighborhood as well. The idea of this was because it's basically our front yard, to preserve the park area, the triangular, we call it a park area, that a lot of the neighborhood likes to use, and put that with some community access, including a dog station. A lot of people walk their dogs around there and don't tend to them. We would put a doggy bag station with a dish to drink out of, and a couple of benches to enjoy the landscaping that we plan to do. There's a neighbor across the street who has miraculous capabilities with gardening type things, who's going to help us do that landscaping. But the idea is it'd be a rental, and it would be a 2-bedroom, 2-bath rental that would have some protection in the winter, as we discovered is useful in Cleveland area. We think that there's an underutilization of 2-bedroom, 2-bath homes that are in good shape available for the rental market. We have a viewpoint of wanting to have a friendly rental policy. We're not looking at trying to flip the property, nor to gouge people with the rentals. I guess a token of that is our 3rd floor rental in our house across the street. We have put up an Afghan refugee family as of a month and a half ago. So it's, we just love Ohio City. We love the historical aspects of it. We know there's a little history behind this house. There's some people like the block people who approved the original design a couple of years ago, which was much bigger than this, and essentially converted the nice garden area, the property there, into a driveway and a 2-car garage, California style. So some people across the street were fighting that, but the block people in general voted for it because the house was so unsightly and in such bad condition. Paul didn't necessarily show you in the pictures how the roof it bows, both levels of the roofs. But we think this is a marquee property that's almost a signature for the neighborhood. And because it's a juxtaposition of 2 main roads, 44th and 41, we think it ought to be really cool. And in concert with the rest of the neighborhood, and in concert with what we've done and have in our main property across the street. And we also think it should be enjoyed by the whole neighborhood.
And Steve did mention the balance of the property, the rest of the pie there. I think that's what was exciting to me when Steve was first talking about it. Is, hey, yes, it's my property, but I think we want to make it a neighborhood amenity space. So I think, you know, obviously he will come back before you with landscaping once they kind of get through and figure out how they're going to configure that, you know, basically parklet. I mean, it's going to be private property, but it is going to be a neighborhood space, as Steve had said. You know, if you wanted to go back up the site plan, just so you can have some type of reference of.
What are your thoughts on fencing, the fencing that's around the rear yard and so forth? Are you going to do anything with that? Or?
Well, that's been a topic of some conversation in the neighborhood, as our neighbors have asked the same question. There was a concern that if you fenced off this nice triangular piece there, that it would be forbidding. We don't want to do that. We would like to have enough of a small fence to keep dogs from walking through the flowers and plants there, but have little pathways and some benches so that people could walk through as they please without necessarily knocking down any of the flowers or bushes. With respect to the rest of the house, there's a sort of a dilapidated stockade fence that we would like. We've identified some fences. My wife and I walk the neighborhood twice a day, every day with our dog. So we've been looking at, and we found a fence style that we like. It would probably be 6 feet tall going along the left side there as you're looking at that, and then coming back across toward the front. But we're working with our neighbor who has a white plastic fence currently there to see if we can resolve a fence that works for both of us. They're actually in I guess the word is encroaching on our property a bit. We're working out an easement to essentially get to a straight property line associated with that. That would still be that 6-foot cedar type fence with a little decoration at the top about a foot down that we've admired in a number of houses in the neighborhood. But the idea is not to make it look foreboding, to make it look welcoming wherever possible. We don't anticipate any fencing in the front. We're going to keep the driveway where it is in the cutout where it is. So there's no real change to that. And we anticipate moving the fence out that's currently there that I believe blocks off the headlights of the traffic coming south on 44th Street to keep them from shining in the house, looking for some other kind of probably ephemeral covering, maybe some sort of drapes or something like that across the front as to accomplish that protection of the light coming all the time, but without making it look like the house is some sort of a fortress.
Is the chimney coming down as part of this restoration?
No, there is a non-working chimney. Well, they're both non-working. There's a non-working chimney in the back that has been plastered over that we'd like to go back to its original look. There's also a chimney about 2/3 of the way as you're looking at the footprint of the existing house here in this graphic that came up from the bottom and it extends halfway into the second floor bedroom, existing second floor bedroom, but was cut off. The top half of it is brick and it looks pretty cool. The bottom half has been plastered over. We'd like to recover that piece of the brick, but it's not, neither of them are working. In fact, one of the problems was the furnace, which was circa 1971, was up in the top left-hand corner of the second floor. And we have replaced that with one that's in the German cistern basement that's associated there. So, and it not only is it much more efficient, but it also freed up a little space there that we thought could make a nursery or maybe a washer dryer type area or both up on the second floor.
So regarding the fencing, you're going to come back to us with fencing and landscape later. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely.
I see you have fencing shown between the pylons of the carport. Is that part of what you're talking about today, or you want to just forego that until the whole fencing?
I'm not sure I understood your question. Between the
posts on the carport, your little rendering shows fencing to sort of screen off the carport. Is that something you want to talk about today, or you want to forego that?
We'd like to come back on that. I've seen some ideas from some other houses in the neighborhood with a pull down kind of window-based doorway that In the summertime, you could open it up and you could use this as an outdoor porch and look at the community garden space. But in the winter, you could also pull it down to keep the snow from blowing in on the car. But we haven't really resolved how we want to do that yet. We came up with this carport idea because there are a couple of places over on 45th and 47th Street that we thought looked nice and gave us most of the protection we think a renter would like to have for a single car without making it look like a California style garage.
Sure. Well, I guess one point about the fencing, you mentioned 6 feet high, which you'll need a variance for it.
Well, what is the zoning? Is it 5 feet or
4
4 feet? 4 feet's
4
fine.
feet.
Yeah, I thought it, but when we looked at the fencing options, I didn't see the 4 foot available in that model. So it would 4 feet's fine to me.
Okay.
Well, here's what I would say, Steve. Let's not necessarily commit to this because, you know, part of the with this way this house is, if you look at the,
Sorry, Paul, you keep cutting out. Can you repeat again?
yeah, part of the what we're planning to do with that outdoor space on the 44th Street side is create a private. And so I would say, Steve, let's think about that a little bit more once we get to the final of the fencing. It might be nice to see a private space and not have everybody that walks by straight out to your private. There's not a whole lot of yard to this, and having that additional space I think is beneficial to the rent.
I have a couple questions. One, I like how the addition does not dominate over the historic structure. I think that's good. I like that there's not a garage door facing the street. I think that was handled very well. My questions focus on materiality. Is the house right now clad in wood?
It's vinyl.
Oh, it's vinyl. And what is underneath that vinyl?
Standard stud frame construction.
So there's no historic wood, no cedar, no lap siding underneath that?
No.
There is some remnants, a lot plywood and over the repairs that this is sometime way in the past.
Paul, your audio is cutting out and I'm getting every other word.
I'm sorry about that. Yeah, there is some siding, but it's not.
Let me see if I can paraphrase for him.
Yeah.
There is on the wall facing out to the community garden area. They put, it looks like maybe 20 years ago, some tongue and groove type of wood siding on the inside instead of sheetrock, but it's not in very good shape and it's not historic. It's probably, like I say, 20 years old.
So to confirm, the lap siding is not on top of original wood siding.
No.
Can you go to the material page, Donna? So then yeah, thank you. So then the hardy board, that's smooth, correct? That's not wood grain?
Right now, we're proposing smooth. It could, you know, I don't think we would be against.
No, we like the.
We prefer the smooth as opposed to a faux wood finish. So that's good.
So would I. My bad.
Good. I have another question about the second.
Well, hey, Doug, before you jump in, that might also
Sorry.
extend to that trim piece there that showed on the screen, the fiber cement trim.
Yep, I think we'd be consistent.
All right, sorry, Doug, go ahead.
Okay, the entrance and the second floor balcony, I'm just wondering if, I'm thinking about, you know, the entrance is so narrow there, if that little bit of metal roof really contributes. What did you think about just extending the porch and railing back to the house over the entryway?
Hopefully you can hear me. But we didn't want to gives some indication that, hey, there is, this is where the porch is. I think it could go either way, not avoid.
Oh, we can't make out what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm sorry about what it is.
If you turn your camera off, that should help. I don't know if it's even on, but
Yeah,
No, you turned it off before. That didn't work.
maybe
Camera is
speak
on.
closer to the screen.
I'm about 12 inches away.
How do you feel about that, Steve? Did you guys discuss the idea of extending the porch back to the house and not having that little bit of a roof there?
I don't see any reason why we couldn't, unless there's some design or architectural reason why that might be a problem. I don't think so, but I'm okay with that.
Oh, I imagine Paul put it there because to help identify the entry, but when I look at it, I question whether that's necessary.
I would agree.
There we go.
What is the material proposed for the porch railing system?
It would be wood. Painted.
I don't know if my colleagues agree with me, but I just wonder, since you have the spindle that looks like it's hearkening back to the historic, if there was a way to do the shorter spindle more in a historic height and then do like a double rail to meet the code height so that it's just not quite so tall in appearance.
Makes sense.
I have kind of like I think an opposing or not opposing viewpoint. My preference would be to match like the more simplistic style that you're doing on the porch crochet columns.
I would
And then
also
do
support that.
a much like just do a 2x2,
Yeah, just a square.
like de-Victorianize both
Mhm.
of those elements. Sorry, my kids are
Yeah.
squawking. Like yeah, de-Victorianize the whole addition. I also thought if the standing seam could also look nice on that little dormer pop up. If you do want that kind of element to break up the roof plane, it might be nice if you relocated it there.
Yes, we can simplify the railing design. I think that would be fine.
Also, and I know that we just said we would revisit the fence conversation, but to give commentary while it's in front of me on this view, my preference would definitely be largely not to have fencing between those columns and kind of let the carport be what it is, and perhaps consider landscape screening, you know, some nice evergreens or landscaping that would provide that kind of protection and privacy versus a built element. It looks
Yeah, you're not
too
really
coarse.
hiding the card. So why not do it landscape?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I agree as well.
And then you have the brick piers there. What is the cap? What is the material of that cap?
It would just be a precast concrete cap.
Okay. And the window color is black or charcoal gray?
Yes.
Also from a use slash variance standpoint, I would maybe consider not labeling the side yard as a community space, even if it's intended to be used that way. I don't know if that would trigger in some kind of use variance. I know that our block club, I'm in this block club, we're working on like a dog park ordinance,
Oh, yeah.
but I don't know that you want to like dip into that whole scenario. Just let it be, maybe just let it be yard
Okay.
for the permit.
Yes.
Thank you. So noted.
Yeah, some of the community gardens that we walk by every day are pretty wild.
Well, as long as it doesn't become a neighborhood dump site.
I guess that's what I was actually saying.
Yeah. All right, if there are no other questions or comments, would someone care to make a motion?
Yeah, I appreciate how nicely this meets the standards. I'll make a motion to approve with the, are we saying a suggestion or a requirement to convert the porch railing to something that's more simplistic along the lines of the piers?
Yes, I think we want them to do that.
I'd support a requirement, Margaret.
Requirement then.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Donna,
Would the
would
mo-
you call the roll?
Would the motion include fencing and landscaping to return?
Yes, thank you,
Yes.
Carl.
Can you repeat the motion just so that
Yes,
it's clear?
make a motion to approve with the requirement that the porch rail system is simplified to complement the piers,
Mhm.
and that fencing and landscape return.
Thanks, Margaret.
And I second that motion.
Donna, please call the roll.
Chris Lozier,
Yes.
Margaret Land, Antonio Marinucci,
Yes.
Alex Frondorf,
Yes.
Doug Wall.
Yes.
All right, so the motion has unanimously been approved with the recommendation that the porch be more simplistic and more details to that, but we will write that in later in our notes. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
Thank you
all.
very much.
Happy holidays
to everyone, and
Yes,
good
yes.
luck,
happy-
Antonio, with the kids.
and welcome to the neighborhood, Steve.
Thank you.
Your next
Delighted to
step,
be here.
Yeah.
and I know Paul already knows this, but your next step would be to go to Landmarks Commission, and they can walk you guys through the next step. But I know Paul knows his way around that. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
All right.
Oh,
I have a quick question. If someone's
Hold on.
returning,
should we conclude the meeting,
sure.
Doug?
Yes, well, then the meeting of this meeting of the Ohio City Design Review Commission is officially over.
The last meeting of 2021.
Yes.
All right.
So